Okay, good. Hey, I think we should go live. What do you think?
Why not?
Sure. Welcome to the Backpack Show, everybody.
Where we bring you insights about success from unusual places. Our guest that we had promoted over the weekend was unable at the last minute to join, but we are very lucky because Jason Falls, author of Winfluence, influence marketing expert, speaker, author, all the things, director at Cornet Agency, is here. And he's going to tell us some really smart things.
I don't think your microphone's picking up from your microphone.
Oh, you could have said that like 5-10 minutes ago.
Just realized it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm here to help you. Just like when I knew how to pronounce the other guest's name, I didn't tell you.
Thanks. Why don't you run your thing? I'm going to fix this.
Hi, everyone. Tim Kitzrow from NBA Jam and NFL Blitz, welcoming you to The Backpack Show. Your hosts, Chris Brogan, Kerry Gorgone, Boom Shakalaka.
Backpack Show. And then it gets better because then your mic started picking up super loud during the credits. I had to hit the manual mute button. That's so perfect.
I feel so bad for you that you had to do something like that.
I had to push a button today. My hands.
My hands. I'll get you some Palmolive to soak them in.
Is this privilege? You're soaking in it.
Those are some weird commercials. I mean, I know we don't talk about marketing usually, but I remember to this day being like, oh, I'm going to soak my hands in Palmolive because that's a thing.
Yeah. You know, you go to the spa, you get a little Palmolive on your hand.
Yeah.
But think about this, right? Like, let's talk about that for a second. How many of us thought, especially because we were kids when we saw that, we're like, that must be what rich people do. Or that must be like something like women do when they say they're going to the spa, is they have Palmolive.
No, I feel like I never did think it was normal.
Okay.
I did accept that some people did it. I don't know what that says about me psychologically. So funny.
We couldn't be any luckier to have Jason Falls on. You know, at a moment's glance, we could just grab a few of our friends who are showmakers and who do cool things. I mean, that's, I guess, what you get when you hang out with people who make shows.
Because we're lucky.
But Falls is like everything. He's super funny. Like if we just say, hey, just be funny, he'd be like, okay, I got you. He's super smart. His book Winfluence is coming out. So why not, pump the book of Winfluence?
I mean, he's all right.
Yeah. He's made like how many shows? He's got like 8 shows running or something.
Man.
He's like a network.
Well, he has quite a few shows. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. And he does a lot of creative work on the agency side as well. Mama Brogan is here.
Love is love, says my mom's face.
Very
nice to see my mom and my dad. Missed him yesterday. Leslie's here. Hey, Leslie. Leslie showed me she's working on a cool little project for the holidays, but I don't want to say anything because,
Except that you just said something.
Well, maybe a relative's watching. They just heard a cool project. Could be, I couldn't think of any words. String art.
What is string art? No, we don't have time for this. We have to talk to Jason.
You know how like connect the dot works? You take a bunch of nails and then you wrap the strings around them. My mom and dad made an incredible string art Christmas one day in the 70s.
Wow. No, my mom would not have done anything remotely resembling that.
Not crafty. When I think
it's hard to do that while you're smoking a cigarette.
New Brunswick. Hey, Mark. How are you, Pally Wally? And Anne's here. Chip's here. Boy, Christmas week, we get everybody.
Because they want to talk to Jason.
They want to hear Jason.
Palmolive soap and like.
Look, you're
how my mom smoked a cigarette.
Squeezing a cat's throat right now underneath the screen here. All right, let's grab Jason. Mr. Falls.
Hey, in the people back in the 70s soaked their fingers in Palmolive. In Kentucky, we soak ours in bourbon right there. So getting my day started with a little how we go.
Before you and before, hooking us up with guys like Denny Potter and all that, I at least waited till about lunchtime to think liquor should go in my mouth. But I have drank so much morning liquor because of this show.
It clears your sinuses. It helps you breathe. It's like it's the anti-coffee.
Mm-hmm. No, I just have tea. When I was in Montenegro for an event, I popped over to Croatia, like on the way back, and the waitress told me that I should drink. It looked like a shot of like grain alcohol or something, but she said, no, it's great for your health. Like clears everything out. And I was like, okay. So I swigged that thing and I'm like, it was Real interesting night. I don't remember anything after that, but
well, there's a rumor going around in Kentucky that straight moonshine is the cure for COVID. I don't think that's medically provable. I wouldn't necessarily trust that. But
have you tried?
I don't have COVID, thank goodness. So I don't know.
I am willing to be a lab rat for that concept.
Yeah. Well,
right. How many people would sign up for that trial?
Sure.
167 days straight, and I don't know if I have COVID or not.
But I feel fine.
Right.
I will tell you this for the people out there who've never experienced moonshine. You can buy moonshine now in stores, but it is tempered a bit. If you have real, like illegal off the still backwoods of Kentucky moonshine, it's a little different. And back years ago when I worked in New York City, I had an anchor that I worked with at ABC Radio who was like, "I've never had moonshine. That can't be all that bad. I've had pure Russian vodka. There's no way it can be anything comparable to that." And I said, "Oh, you wait." So I went home at one point for the holidays, came back with a pint of moonshine for this was pre 9/11, so I was able to smuggle it on a plane. But I came back and gave it to him, and he took the mason jar lid off and did this. Oh my God! Like he could not believe how different it was and how much more powerful it was. So if you've never had moonshine and you have real moonshine, be careful. Dilute that stuff; it's going to kill you.
And if
dilute
you
it with, like, just soda water,
you can dilute it with anything. I mean, you can put water in it. You can, put it in like a cocktail. I would water it down primarily because what you're doing there is you're just cutting the proof. Because real moonshine coming off the still could be somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, 175, 180 proof. It's going to be 90% alcohol, could be. So it's going to hurt.
We promised business success insights.
There you go. There you go. Got to cut that stuff.
Anne's got a question that I bet you have an opinion on. What do you think of all the specialty flavors of moonshine nowadays?
Well, it's actually kind of a byproduct of what we've been talking about. The specialty flavors are there to make it more palatable. It's really strong whiskey. It's really strong alcohol, and it's going to hurt you. So, but if it's got a little grape tinge to it, it doesn't hurt as bad. So there you go.
Like the new website, Jason.
Yeah, this audience is the first people to know. JasonFalls.com got a facelift over the weekend, so it's brand new.
Sure, it is pretty. Look at that thing. There's a handsome man up top.
There you go.
He's looking towards the future.
I am. I'm doing something. Yeah, I got the book and the podcasts there, and articles that I've written, and all that good stuff. So
laughing at his guest here. He's
laughing at myself.
That's right.
If you can't laugh at yourself, really, I mean, who can you laugh at?
I call that right after the shower for me, but
Nice.
There we go. This is Jason dancing. This is play that funky music. This is air guitar.
Yep, that's it.
That color scheme looks familiar.
Yeah. It's nice. The designer at Entrepreneur Press who did the Winfluence cover actually did that sort of on his own, and then it just happens to tie back to No Bullshit Social Media, which is a book that looks somewhat similar to that. So it's all kind of tied together. It's kind of nice. Worked out real well.
We got it.
Chip said, "You got a facelift?"
Yeah, you can't tell because of the beard, but sure.
That's a good investment. Nazim has a question. Is moonshine stronger than grappa?
That's a good question. I think it is because moonshine is literally pure, off the still, almost 100 proof alcohol. It's not 100 proof typically. There's a little bit of water, some stuff in it. But grappa, as I understand it, I've had grappa once. It was strong. They're probably very similar, but it all depends on the proof, the percentage of alcohol.
A lot of people love your new website.
Cool. Well,
another win in the Falls book.
I'm proud of it. So we got this new book coming out, and I've got the podcasts, and I needed to kind of prioritize them on the site. So instead of just slapping something together, I just said let's redo the whole thing. So it officially, I guess, launches today. So I hope Sarah and the team at RV Tech Solutions are ready for the traffic.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I had permission to tell anybody.
Really? Whoops.
We'll be putting it under the
breaking news.
Well, you know,
my personal Winfluence has been a little lesser. I've sensed the tremor in the force. It's a good segue into what the heck's this book about, Jason Falls?
Yeah, so it's obviously about influence marketing, but my sort of perspective on it is I think that we've let the term influencer marketing with an R on the end of the word influence sort of taint how we think about it. And I believe the mainstream media portrayal of influencers as being duck lips, peace sign, very superficial. Here's what I had for lunch type people has kind of led a lot of businesses and brands to misunderstand what the power of influence marketing is. And so the book sort of throws out the hypothesis that we need to reframe influencer marketing and call it influence marketing and focus on the action, focus on what we're trying to accomplish, not focus on the channels that we're trying to accomplish it on. And when you think about it that way, it broadens the perspective of what you've got to work with. Instead of thinking Instagram and YouTube, you can think, okay, well, who influences the audience I'm trying to reach? And that might be the president of the local urban league who doesn't have any followers on Instagram. It might be teachers. It might be nurses. It might be politicians or lobbyists. It might be a lot of different people that aren't necessarily online influencers. And certainly it opens up the conversation a lot broader to talk about micro influencers, people on different social networks than Instagram and YouTube. So it just gives us an opportunity to kind of reframe how we think of influence so that we can be more encompassing in how we approach the practice.
Ship is on fire today. Look, wait till my bots start hitting it.
Bring it, man. Bring it.
And
I'll put that traffic label on a sales sheet for sponsors for the podcast. I don't care.
Here in New England, we say influenza.
Influenza. Yeah, there you go.
She's not wrong.
Karen's flirting with you, so watch out.
Uh-oh.
With me?
No, she says, looking awesome, Jason.
Oh, thank you.
Karen's awesome. She's a barefoot water skier, a deaf author, and she kicks so much ass. I love her.
Excuse me. In that process, in talking about Winfluence, it's one of the things that I'm thinking about is that you nailed it, because coming up the way we did, we came up at the same time, so people would just start throwing things at us and saying, "Hey, do this thing," and we'd be like, "Okay," because partly you feel like you didn't, the opposite of getting picked last in gym class, so you say yes. Partly because you never know when you're going to start getting nobody asking you, and you feel like I'll probably take this thing. But there's times when we just know we're not the one, right? Like we just know, I don't know why you gave me this. I did it once. I was putting on this leather jacket going, I don't know why me in this leather jacket's going to make you want to get this leather jacket, but hey, it's a good leather jacket. And I feel like you're right. I mean, we've got to go after not somebody who, oh, well, I'll turn it around to a question. Markiplier, fairly famous YouTuber for shenanigans. Like his stuff's all shenanigans based. He was trying really hard to get Del Monte to sponsor him. I forget what, for corn or something, canned corn or something. And they weren't down for it. And so he just finally, they just said, look, you're not even.
Try mentioning them over and over again, free of charge on his show? Because I think that works.
I could tell him a little Johnson.
Eventually.
But my question is, so then he goes, well, screw it. I'll just fall in love with Green Giant then. And he ran over. These people that do have a market, even though they're not a food show or something like that, is it worth it to them? According to the book, are you positing just because he's got 11 million subs, why not let him have a shot at it? Or what's your take? What would you advise a company?
No, I mean, the advice for a company is always that your audience, obviously, the audience you're trying to reach obviously has to be in their audience. There has to be some overlap. Otherwise, you're talking to people who don't matter to your goals and your brand. But more importantly, the influencers that you select for any sort of influence marketing campaign really need to align with the brand. They need to look and feel and, engage the way the brand does. Or the brand needs to say, we don't really have a defined way to look and feel, and we want to use influencers to sort of kind of co-opt that energy. Mm-hmm. And so if there's not brand alignment, like for instance, I think there's a place in the book where I mentioned Iggy Pop at one point at the Cannes Film Festival was talking about the ridiculousness of some advertisements and some endorsements. And he said, I don't know why BMW even advertises. If I were BMW, I would just say, it's BMW, just buy it, damn it. It's BMW, for God's sakes. And in that example that I use in the book, I say, look, Iggy Pop does not align with BMW. They would never use him officially for their advertising. He had a different point to make about it's just a really good quality product, buy it. But that would never be a good match, because he is not the kind of person that they're going to align with. He's not the right kind of influencer. People like him, even though they might buy BMWs, aren't necessarily aligned with that brand and what it looks like and what it stands for. So you've got to have brand alignment. Otherwise there's a disconnect.
I'm with you on that.
Chip wants to get you to break on camera. Apparently he's made that his life's mission.
Well, let me fuel the fire there.
And Mitch asks for your thoughts about influencers having multimedia talent management companies to represent them.
Yeah, I think we've reached a point in the evolution of influence marketing where the influencers, the Instagrammers and the YouTubes that have built up enough of an audience are starting to bleed into the celebrity space where they're having talent agencies and firms represent them. I don't have any problem with that necessarily, but I think it's putting those influential people in a different stratosphere, a different category. Most brands are going to look at that and say, oh, that's going to cost a whole lot of money. I'm not going to use them. They're going to go try to find people with maybe a slightly lower, number of followers. And I'll get into follower count in a minute because it doesn't matter anymore. But they're going to go try to find someone with a lower number of followers who will negotiate more, one-to-one and, not cost tens of thousands of dollars because they have to pay an agent on top of that.
Right.
So I think, again, for influencers or influential people who are going that route and trying to hire talent agents to represent them and management companies, that's great. But understand that you're now in sort of a realm of celebrity endorsement and you're not really going to get the type of opportunities as frequently as you used to.
That's a really smart way to see it.
Nancy, I'm sorry. I have to tell Nancy, Teamy Oils. They don't pay me.
They should.
You should.
There's a juxtaposition, or that's a terrible word for it. There's basically like a line, it seems, right? Like, so you were talking about the fact that, once they hit a certain space, they're going to be in another certain category. And like, for instance, my friend Justine, she was just a regular old person. She got super popular for one video of her, like, when Apple used to send out every single text message in the bill. She had like that 500-page bill, and all of a sudden everyone's like, wait, this girl's amazing, and everyone fell in love with Justine. So Call of Duty made her like spokesperson for, I don't remember which one of them, because there's a new one of those every year.
Right.
That was when she that's her line as far as that goes. And next thing you know, she's big influence, not little influence, I guess, Yeah. But to your point, and I think it's a super important point, because Mitch's question was great, because I started thinking immediately, oh, that just makes them harder to work with. Like, that was my very first thought in my belly. When you can still interview one-to-one with them, I think that's when it's the sweet spot.
Yeah, it presents some challenges, but again, I think it's a buyer and seller's market. It's a supply and demand thing. And so if a brand out there is consumed with reach and impressions, or potential reach and impressions, which is what they normally look at. They don't actually understand the actual reach doesn't match up. But if they're obsessed with, we have to have so many impressions in order to drive our business, then going the talent agent management route, working with, influential people who have 500,000, million or more followers is a great way to do it. It's a checkbox. They can say, okay, we needed 50 million impressions. And so we use these 10 influencers and we got it. And here's how much it cost. And they can, balance that out and equate it. And they think they're getting good value out of it. Then brands are going to pay that. The talent agents and management fees are going to be paid, and the influencers are going to make their money too. But I think for what we've kind of entered an era now in influence marketing where brands and agencies are looking and saying, wait a minute, follower count doesn't matter anymore. What really matters is the quality of content, because if I can find someone who has 500 followers, but they create great content, I can put paid spend behind that content and get it in front of 50 million people if I want to, right? So now you're paying for the impressions, the actual impressions, not potential impressions. You're putting paid spend behind what you used to think of as an organic spend. But you're achieving those impressions numbers with better content and an influencer that's going to be way more engaged with their audience. So that's why we've kind of shifted to this nano micro influencer approach these days, because if you find great content and they don't have a lot of followers, you can produce the impressions, you can pay for that. And so brands are starting to get smarter about how they use that money.
When we come back, I'm going to ask some questions about that, about sort of the blueprint about that. I'm also going to repay Jason the same absolutely backhanded compliment I've given him many times in your presence, people of Earth, because I want you to see it. Don't anyone go anywhere. I'm going to read my ads. Jason Falls, stick around, drink some more. We got love we got to give these sponsors. By the way, he is purely going to drink, no question. We're sponsored by StreamYard. You can make a show just like this show. Boy, is this easy, man. Click a couple buttons.
It really is.
None.
You know what helps is if you have a co-host who will tell you your microphone's not connected. So bring one of those if you're going to do a StreamYard show, if you want it to be the best it can be.
Authors. Maybe you've written a great new book like Winfluence, but you don't have an incredible web team like Jason Falls. You have to do pub-site.com. You can make a site not nearly as good as Jason's, but pretty darn good in like 2 hours.
It is very good. In fact, Jason should try it and do like a side-by-side comparison.
Clancy used it. So did, his people did. Robin Cook, all kinds of people. You can make one of these things. Good news, if you want to have me design it for you, I will charge you $2,000 or so bucks. And I'll do the whole design.
Not take him up on that, because to have the pub site team do it for you is just $499. But they actually don't. They would prefer you do it because it's so easy. But they will do it if you don't want to. If you do it yourself, $19.99 a month. That's it. And it's stupid easy. You should go and try it. Pub-site.com. Even get the site now and like write the book whenever.
Get the site now, write the book later. That's a good copy read.
I would do.
So,
What I would do.
Too. All right, we
have many chats for Jason as well.
Yeah, so why don't we bring him back in and we'll just go way back up the line to the 8,000 questions that rolled in. You guys, you just I'm so sad right now. The whole idea of the Backpack Show is we go and find like things that are different than marketing turd head conversation, and look what you do. A marketing turd head stops by. And you get all excited.
Issue with the term.
We don't have to talk about marketing. We've already covered the book. I've checked that box. We talk about whatever you want to talk about.
All these questions.
I do have a question though. So what about when you're talking about situations where brands are paying influencers to be part of their campaigns? There are plenty of, especially in B2B, plenty of situations where you want to build a relationship with people that is genuine and lasting. So you're not just constantly, paying money for impressions. So how do you go about doing that the correct way so people don't end up feeling used and stop taking your calls?
Well, and that's really the linchpin of kind of the great philosophical debate in influence marketing right now. There's two sort of polar end opposite perspectives on how you should treat influence marketing. One is the consumer product good transactional relationship. I pay you, you post, we're happy kind of thing, where it's a campaign oriented, it's money oriented, it's impressions oriented. And then there's the PR kind of perspective on it, which, I'm a PR guy by trade, so I'm going to lean that way, which is not necessarily talking to influencers about a campaign or a single post or a specific dollar amount, but trying to really build a relationship with them over time where there's a mutual beneficial value exchange between folks. And when you look at, especially and this is where I think B2B companies are far more advanced than B2C companies in influence marketing, because they for years now have said, hey, in order to get our point across on the new product feature that we've rolled out, or the new software that we have to offer the marketplace, we need some respected third-party endorsement to sort of put that in front of people. So we're going to go out and get analysts and academicians and thought leaders in the business to co-author a white paper for us, or do a webinar with us, or come to our trade show and speak on our behalf. B2B companies have been doing this for decades, probably even before social media, especially with industry analysts. And so what happens there is there might be, a situation where the B2B company pays for their travel and maybe pays them for a little bit of time to create the content, but it's more about the relationship that they form over time, where the influencer has access to the company and their executives and their product teams and can learn what they're innovating about and around in the industry. And therefore the company then has access to the influencer to make sure that they are constantly getting the latest from that brand. So the B2B space is much more mature in influence marketing, in my perspective, because they focus on that relationship building and it's not so transactional. Once B2C companies, consumer product good companies and whatnot, get to that point, then I think you're going to start to see influence marketing become a much bigger, happier family of people doing it.
Nazim has a question. Do you see a potential backlash against social media in the near future, and how will that impact influence marketing?
I don't know that there's going to be a backlash against social media. I kind of know where he's coming from. I think I know where he's coming from in this. I mean, obviously the polarization of our country and other countries because of the homogenous feeds that we get, on Facebook and whatnot. Josh Burnoff had a great, commentary in the Boston Globe over the weekend to talk about that. The polarization of people from a political perspective or from hot button issues certainly is a problem, but I think that's a problem that will be addressed and mitigated, and we'll work through it. I don't necessarily think that's going to have as drastic effect on how brands use social media, and that there are influencers out there. It might be that we have sort of separate crowds for a while and we're not kind of together as one. But I don't necessarily think that polarization is going to kill business on social media.
We have a couple of comments as well. So Mitch says, great conversation. I was thinking more about what's in the best interest of the influencer as opposed to the brand. And Chip has sort of a related question. Any thoughts on influencers paid with free stuff versus direct payments?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's agencies out there, especially that micro nano influencer level. There's agencies out there like one that I talk about in the book and some of the things that they've done called Apex Drop. It's actually based in Erie, Pennsylvania, and they don't pay influencers that they work with. What they do is brands come to them and say, we want to get products into the hands of influencers out there to try. And so Apex Drop goes out and says, hey, we'll send you the free product. And I think they might add, some level of retail value that goes into the equation to convince the influencer to say yes. But we're just going to basically send you free product and maybe a gift bag in order to post a review or post a post about this particular product. And there are plenty of micro and nano influencers out there that'll do it just for the exposure to have, product to talk about, because it helps them build their credibility with their audiences. So plenty of those exist out there. You don't necessarily have to pay influencers to get them engaged. In fact, I recently, just a couple of weeks ago, had a local opportunity with one of my clients in Central Kentucky. And I reached out to an influencer here, and I said, actually 2 influencers here, and said, hey, we're trying to push some holiday shopping stuff. What can we do to work together to make this happen? And they just said, well, we work with you all the time. We'll just come do it. No, don't worry about it. And so that's that relationship building part of it.
Rick makes a good point. Do you think some influencers are actually being made by a brand, sort of like iJustine?
Yeah.
Thing was made by
yeah, absolutely. I think that definitely happens. And you're also kind of on that sort of thread of conversation. You're also starting to see, especially in the B2B space, companies are starting to position their executives as influencers because they are executives with that company. That doesn't happen very often, but it's becoming more and more frequent where Adobe is putting Ronnie Money out there in front of people because Ronnie Money is an influencer. Now, she would probably be influential at any company she was at because she's brilliant, but Adobe is putting her out there and supporting that, building her audience and her influence in that space because it's good for the company. So I think you're definitely starting to see influencers built by brands. And there's lots of brands out there that are identifying influencers who are maybe 25,000 followers, partnering with them to get them to 100, 150, 200, because then they're going to look back on that brand and say, hey, you helped me get here. So we've got a great partnership.
We had Ronnie Money on the show before. She is just an exceptional person. We talked about her time working with Mother Teresa.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting stuff for sure. In 2009, then again in 2022, idiots wrote a book about trust. And one of the things they were talking about way back then, and then just re-updated just to try to get some extra money, didn't work out, was that there would be this big relationship between companies where they would take a really smart person, like let's just say W. Scott Monty. And they would say, man, this guy's good. And they'd put him up there, and next thing you know, the CEO is walking around with his arm around him like a little friend. And then that would change the world. People would love it. People would, he could be regular size. It's hard to know, some of the pictures.
Instagram makes it hard.
So, and the more people would buy Ford because they liked his little bow ties. And that's, not exactly how the world turned out. And then a lot of our friends ended up either going out on their own trying to form super bands. That didn't work. And then a whole bunch of them are, back somewhere, right? They're all VPs somewhere. So talk about that for a minute. Let's blow up this, this is all going to work because we all love each other. Kumbaya. It didn't work. So that's what your book says. Your book says, all right, Brogan's an idiot. Let me explain what really is going to happen. Let's get there.
Well, the kumbaya thing works if there's a business result on the other end of it. And so when Eric Deckers and I wrote No Bullshit Social Media, the whole reason that book was called No Bullshit Social Media was because at the time in 2008, 2009, the people who were talking about social media were saying, join the conversation, let's hold hands and just have this big social community, and your businesses can join the conversation and be a part of our lovely community. But no one was really clearly saying, but if you do that, here's how you connect social activity and content and engagement and community to driving business. And so we wanted to produce a book that said, hey, here's how you use social media strategically for business. And that was No Bullshit Social Media. Winfluence really is kind of a follow-on to that, to say, here's how you use influence marketing from a strategic perspective and make sure that you're not just paying for impressions, but you're paying for driving business metrics and driving business outcomes. It tries to steer people away from using influencers just because they have a lot of followers and just because they're cute and funny on the internet, and more of the ones who will literally meet you halfway and say, what are your business goals? What do you need to achieve to make this successful? Because the influencers who do that know that brand's going to invest in them over time. And the brands know the influencers that do that are going to drive the numbers that they want to drive.
Matt McHale says, wow, Jason and Chris together, an early Christmas gift. I know, right?
I want to grab Chip Griffin's comment. I'll touch it. You touched it. I touched it. You touched
Stop
it.
touching things. Stop. I have one job on this show, and I'm going to do it.
Do it now. All right. So I think, Chip, if I'm right about this one, this is the one where influencers were getting early access to some graphics cards and stuff like that other people were really struggling to try to buy. And what ends up happening is, because there's this whole press, we're going to treat our influencers better than we're going to treat our real buyers. There's a backlash coming around, which is like, because some of these people are like buying these things that no one can get access to and chainsawing them for views. You know what I mean? They're doing like jerk ass things with their product just to say, ha ha ha, while everyone else is like, this is sucky. And it sort of puts that influencer in the same box as like when Cardi B was crying because she couldn't get out and get sushi, or when Ellen DeGeneres was in her pool house explaining how hard it was for her, which is why she paid 19 people to live with her for the last several months. You
couldn't pay me enough.
The problem is, so I think that's kind of where Chip's going on that one. And I just want to talk a little bit about the, no. So Chip says, no, this is a whole other one. This is the people weren't really following the marketing speak that NVIDIA wanted to market, so they shut them down. So that's another whole question. Talk about not so much trust.
You got a couple of problems there. I mean, obviously, the first scenario where Chris was walking us down, that's poor planning on the company's part. If you're going to seed a product with influencers, then hopefully you're doing it so that people will want the product, so that you'll create demand. Well, if you don't have supply to meet demand, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. That's just poor planning. I mean, I work with several bourbon brands that would never really engage a bunch of influencers because there's a supply and demand issue, because good bourbon takes a long time to create. And so until that supply and demand issue is fixed, we're not going to have, a bunch of influencer engagements for certain brands. Others we will. So to go back though to what actually happened, where a brand engages an influencer and they don't like the content the influencer is producing, so they shut them down. Again, I think that's a company that doesn't understand that when you engage an influencer, you're not engaging someone who you get to art direct. You're not engaging someone who you get to dictate what they produce. You're engaging them because they create great content that is engaging for their audience. You've got to trust them. And if they take it off on a tangent that you don't even like, the best thing you can do is say, oh, that's a tangent we didn't even think about. Let's feed that a little bit and see where it takes us. I did some conversation research not too long ago on Dirt Devil, not because Dirt Devil wanted me to. I did it to just show that I could do it. And so the Dirt Devil people have never endorsed this, and I'm waiting on the cease and desist any day now. But I did some research on
the sponsor.
Yeah, I did some research on Dirt Devil not too long ago. And as you would expect, the use cases for Dirt Devil vacuums were like hair, pet hair, hardwood floors. And then there was this little bubble down here that was blacksmithing. And I was like, what the hell is that? So we drilled into that. And what we realized is that home craftsmen who are blacksmiths or craftswomen who are blacksmiths will hack Dirt Devil vacuums to get the fan out so that they have a constant flow cooling off the metal as they're blacksmithing. And I'm like, why would Dirt Devil not go, okay, let's build something for them and take advantage of that crowd and make them rabid fans? So I think that's kind of what you have to think about when you're engaging influencers. If they do something you don't necessarily want to do, go with the flow, but also don't expect that they're going to subject themselves to your editorial stuff. You can give them parameters, you can give them guardrails. They'll take do's and don'ts, but once they create it, it's really theirs, not yours.
Gary brings up a really good one. And I remember this video so vividly. Gary Stockton, I'm not touching a button. I remember when Casey Neistat blew the majority of the budget by traveling the world for the Make It Count video. They ended up really loving what he did. He just like grabbed a whole bunch of friends, goes, come on, let's go. And it was like the budget goes out the window and like, oh, by the way, here's the product, Nike. And I think that's so smart. And, you know, I'm not going to compare myself to the idea of let's do Dirt Devil blacksmithing because I think that's the smartest thing I've ever heard, which lets me pay my bad compliment.
To answer Deb Lee's question, I publicly, tagged Dirt Devil in plenty of things that I did. I even emailed the company to say, hey, I've done this research and found some pretty interesting things. Would you like to take a look at it? And I never got any response. So
this lets me double down on the compliment I want to pay you. So I have said this a bunch of times. It is such a not good compliment. I love you for just who you are. I just like how funny you are. I like being around you. You make me feel good when I'm around you. And then every time I'm around you and you say things like not about liquor or something, I go, holy he is smart. Like I forget over and over again. I forget like I have like some kind of Smartheimers and I'm like, Jason Falls is so smart. And wow. and my first time that ever happened, Get Ready to Live. Get Ready to Live. Tim, our buddy Tim Hayden and you, and we're there, and you presented some information, and I had like intelligence boner in the back of the room. I was just like, oh my God, he's so smart. He's so
Should I like step out?
You should probably take a minute.
You'll say we're almost getting inappropriate here.
I just want to tell you a little something. You're so smart. Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you. I like to think so, but it's good to have that validation from time to time.
Super smart. Absolutely. And I want to talk to you about a lot more, but I'm not going to. I'm kicking you off the show. But right. we can get a lot more of you, jason.online, jasonfalls.com. We can watch all of your shows. We didn't even talk about your shows. That's what I want to talk about.
You didn't even have to.
We don't have to.
Guess what? One's about Winfluence.
Yeah, the Winfluence. You can go there, jason.online/Winfluence. It's an audio-only podcast. And then Digging Deeper is a Tuesday morning live stream just like this, where I talk to people from the marketing world. Tomorrow, we have a holiday special guest, one of the Adweek's top 100 creative people, Whit Heiler, who happens to also be at Cornett, is going to be with us. He created Kentucky for Kentucky and a bunch of other great campaigns.
I thought you were going to say Santa. I was like really almost excited.
Well,
get there.
Actually, we can have Santa on your show. Ready for this? Here we go.
Oh, yay.
Ho, frickin' ho. Here we go.
I like bad Santa.
Don't anybody screen cap this. Jason Falls, thank you so much for being part of the show.
Thank you.
You're the best.
I don't, it's so weird. I'm not even used to this version where we keep talking after, but I got to do, we have so many things we have to talk about real quick, but Jason Falls, I'm into him. He's so smart. I thought you were off tomorrow. Good to know. Come on, Chip. Get with it.
Stop it.
I went to one of Jason's social media conferences here in OC and loved it. So many great influencers. Do you need a Santa? Rick Charlie, I have been trying to convince one Stephen Brogan to come on and be a Santa, but he says no all the time. So maybe so. Ho, ho, ho. So
I love him. Deanna thinks somebody deserves a yellow card there because you said intelligence.
But do you even have a yellow card? I don't even think you do.
I do, in fact, but I was backstage at that point. So if anything, you deserve a red card for that. In fact, you deserve two things back to back.
Boom shakalaka. Yellow card, Brogan. And Brogan is going down like a bag of hammers tonight. Oh, for God's sake, stop talking. Let the woman speak.
I will love Tim Kitzrow till the day I die.
He's a great man. All right, listen. We got a show this week, and it is so full of holes. It is Swiss.
Shut up.
We've got things.
This is going to surprise some of you, but there's a pretty major holiday this week, and so some people have chosen to take time off this week and do things with their families and stuff, and like travel, whatever. So,
Festivus, something. All right. Listen up. Oh, Kate asked the question earlier. What am I drinking?
Kate, just keep at it, Chip.
This is iced tea. There used to be ice cubes in there, but they melted because ice, baby. This is, as far as you know, black coffee.
As far as you know, where you ask people, what are you drinking? Because then they can reply and talk about what they're drinking.
That is true. Tomorrow it is all sausage all the time. We are talking Johnsonville. We're not talking with Johnsonville. We're just talking sausage. We got some people to shoot some videos for us. All different kinds of videos of like human heads and sausage. That's what we got.
Well,
and they're perfect.
You make that sound horrible, but it's a lot more fun than it sounds. So.
And we may or may not. They're not ready, are they? Our other one's not ready, are they?
Not yet. But we have some sausage related loaded questions we can play.
Yes! Eric poses from Loaded Questions and many other important games. The official game of the Backpack Show made us some sausage loaded questions. That's going to be something else. Naz, stick around, buddy. You don't even. This is a week of weeks. We are going to talk sausage on Tuesday. Wednesday, we have the how do we say this? Because the first female Boy Scout who now identifies as non-binary, or one of the first female
one of the first non-binary Eagle Scouts.
Probably the first non-binary Eagle Scout. We have an Eagle Scout. So the Boy Scouts of America let in other genders 2 or 3 years ago, but now this is the first Eagle Scout, which I guess officially, born female and now has a non-binary status. I think that's fair to say. I don't even know that. We'll ask tomorrow. Aaron, here we go. Colton, Aaron Colton. That's cool. That's Wednesday. Thursday, Christmas Eve, on the day. Oh, we already had the Sausage King, Matt. We had the Sausage King, Ralph Stayer, around which Abe Roman was, modeled. So, and by the way, from Wisconsin, so he'd go down to Chicago. He was the guy. We have on Thursday, we have our holiday party, and it is as bad as every holiday party you've ever had. Another thing we didn't get to ask Jason Falls because we all got so excited about Winfluence.
No, it's going to be fun. So we have some past guests from the Backpack Show that created special holiday videos to say hello. It's all new stuff. And I can't wait. I'm so excited. And we have some holiday themed loaded questions as well, because I just can never get enough loaded questions.
Eric Poses provided holiday loaded questions. So that's on.
Because I'll be like, hey, do you maybe have some holiday themed loaded questions? He's like, sure. And also some sausage themed loaded questions. And he's like, the what? But he does it. He just goes up with it.
You're like Napoleon Dynamite to him. Ninja skills. Debly, I will not answer that question, but I will tell you. So autistic people and also other people, autistic people, when they get really excited, they do a thing called stimming. And stimming is they move in such a way that's a little strange for, neuronormative humans, but it gets energy out. It moves energy. When somebody who I can't name, Debly, made something that you may or may not see on Thursday, I was vibrating. Thank goodness I wasn't on the camera. I was like, woo. I messaged my son and said, I just super stemmed. So who knows? It's so good. And other very good things too. We talked to a few of our favorite things and it was fun. So it's good. Friday, Christmas Day, with wrapping paper all around, or for our Jewish friends, just Friday. We're setting up a Misfits holiday party, because why not? Because it won't be as festive as Thursday. So come Thursday if you have a choice. But if you're not doing anything, come hang out with us, because Kerry the kids will have already opened everything. They'll all be hiding off somewhere else doing their thing. They don't need us.
Oh, I'll save the holiday theme loaded questions for then.
And we'll be playing some loaded questions. You can wear your pajamas on the show.
Jammies.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good day.
Bob, what are you doing?
Drinking or it's lyrics? I don't know which.
I don't know, but it's going to be fun. So even though, we normally book a ridiculous number of guests, so we have somewhat fewer guests this week, we have so many people coming to tell you happy holidays and to show you some sausage and some other stuff. So it's really, honestly, it's a lot of fun.
I want to answer Kate's question about the nuns. I don't think the nuns are going to be able to come through by tomorrow. I just don't. That'd be a holiday miracle. But we do have a few videos to show and more, because you can understand, like, Kerry has become an incredible sausage logistician and has launched sausages all over the world.
Oh my God, that sounds terrible.
So can I send a holiday video non-sausage related? Sure. I mean, if you're vegetable eater or something, sure, you can send a holiday video under 60 seconds and preferably landscape mode. In fact, anybody who's here, do it. Make a little holiday video. We'll put it up. You know us.
Yeah,
Do
you
it.
have to get it to us.
But also show up camera ready on Thursday, bitches. We'll bring you up.
Hey, don't call them that.
Very good people.
Where is it? Hold on. Don't you move from where you're sitting.
Yellow card Brogan. What else is new?
They're just not going to end. We have 15 minutes of this.
Call them names.
Oh, and look at Jonathan. Do you need any extra sausage questions just in case?
Oh, no. Bob says the backpack is full of misfit toys. So
I want to be a dentist. A dentist? You're an elf. Elves make toys. What's your favorite holiday show from way back then? What's your favorite, felty stop motion holiday show?
Oh man, I really like the put one foot in front of the other. Which one was that? I can't remember.
I think that is the same one. I think that's
and then I also liked Heatmeister and Goldmeister. Yeah, remember I like those. Burger Meister Burger.
Meister Burger and the toys.
Yeah. I didn't realize that must have taken forever for them to produce those. So I mean, we could play them for another 50 years and still probably not recoup that amount of time and effort. So.
One of my more modern Charlie Brown Christmas. The soundtrack of Charlie Brown Christmas is my favorite holiday album of all times. Vince Guaraldi.
Yeah.
One of my favorite holiday Christmas videos is a new one where Drew Barrymore is the star, and it's Olive the Other Reindeer. And it's about a little Jack Russell Terrier who has a pet flea. And the flea is, I don't know why, but the flea really kind of changes things up. But the flea says to Olive that Santa just asked for Olive the Other Reindeer. And she's like, me? Really? Okay. And so she goes to the North Pole and then proceeds to try to save Christmas. Michael Stipe from REM is there.
What?
He plays a reindeer that was kicked out of Santa's crew, and he's wearing like an S&M. I'm not even kidding. This is an animated show. He's wearing like this S&M gear with like nipple piercings, but he's a reindeer, so he has multiple nipple piercings.
Oh,
right. Because reindeer jokes.
Right. I mean, yeah, product design has to suit your audience. I get it.
That's right.
So, as a matter of fact, you do have a fun holiday story about your grandmother, and I know this because I asked you one year for Punch Out with Katie and Kerry. We were getting fun holiday memories from people, and you told me an amazing story about your grandmother.